Hey there, BookTube. Noah. Everyone who reads and must converse is the channel. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming back by again. I'm going to kick off again the Sundays with Borges series that I have going on my channel. There's a playlist full of Borges short stories and explorations through just ones that really strike me and my collaborators, various other booktubers and readers, right? I've been going through Borges' collected fictions here chronologically, and I am now finished with Brody's Report. Brody's Report is a collection that came out in 1970, so a full 30 years after fictions and um, the Aleph, the most well-known kind of collections from Borges. The Maker had come out in 1960, so even 10 years after The Maker, we have Brody's Report. And Brody's Report is very, very different than fictions and the Aleph. For example, in the introduction, uh, Borges says explicitly that he's going to write stories using no literary tricks, no experimentation, just straightforward storytelling. And Brody's Report does come across like that, especially, but it also has Borgesian themes all through it. What I find is a very enjoyable set of stories, very easy to read, but also has that kind of thing at the very end where Borges will give it to you, give you an idea, and it frames the entire story that you've read before. And all of Borges' short stories are very short, right? Some 3 pages, things like that, all the way up to maybe 5, 7 pages max. Okay, so you will have some kind of framing at the end, but it's not a twist the way that some of the stories and fictions are. Maybe House of Asterion is a wonderful example of that final Borgesian uh, jolt there at the end that then makes you want to reread the entire story. You will want to reread these with the framing in mind after reading, but it's not so much a kind of experimental trick or something like that. It's more of really just he's got you right where he wants you. I find that in Brody's Report, there's a lot more hardcore violence. Maybe it's just that I have an I understand Borges more now, and I know where he's coming from. I have more Borges behind me in my reading, to where the impact is more. But I do feel that these stories are like Borges doing Quentin Tarantino, in the mind of a very violent group of people. That's not to say that every character in Brody's Report is violent. Not at all. A lot of the stories are about violent people. But what does happen in Brody's Report strikes me very much more hardcore than things that are in the Aleph and the Maker and fictions, for example. Um, I'm probably going to go through the stories such as The Interloper, the first story in this, The Encounter for sure. That is a wonderful little piece, The Encounter, and very gruesome. The Duel and The Other Duel, both of those stories I'll probably do in one discussion because they kind of inform each other, and I really enjoy what Borges was doing with that. And of course, The Gospel According to Mark is one of these stories that um, you can probably just analyze for days, weeks, maybe even most of your lifetime. And then the final story in the collection is the titular story, Dr. Brody's Report. So I'm interested in doing those and kind of calling for collaborators if somebody wants to get on board with it. There is a lot of love for Borges in the reading community, in the community of readers that love literature. And I'm going to keep on reading. I'm going to go forward into the Book of Sand. I haven't read any of those yet, but while we're kicking off the Sundays with Borges series, I will be reading, the Book of Sand to just kind of keep this thing going. And then there is Shakespeare's Memory, 1983. And that's the final collection of Borges fiction that is in this collected fictions. And then I will be finished with Borges's fiction for the most part. I find that Borges's writings are kind of a labyrinth, right? It's so tough to get your hands on all of Borges' stuff. You can't do it because it's been published in different formats in different ways in different publications, and it's just like you can't get everything. There's always stuff that slips through the cracks, and it's so fun to experience Borges and see that his writings have become what he writes about. They've become this labyrinth. They've become this thing where you feel like you know Borges, but do you know Borges, or do you know the fictionalized version of Borges that he puts forth in his stories? Because Borges is often a character, right? Not so much in these stories of Dr. Brody's report. I'd love to hear anybody's thoughts going forward, and feel free to drop me a line in the comments if you're a content creator and want to do some collaboration on any of the stories from Brody's report that I mentioned. They're very, very fun, and do lend themselves to some cool discussions. We'll go off. Feel free to check out the playlist if you're not knowing about Borges and what's going on with the Sundays with Borges playlist. And I hope that you enjoy yourself with that. And catch you on the next one, BookTube. Thank you. Bye bye.